A community in shock, a family desperate for answers, and police on the hunt after a grandmother is gunned down.
New security measures at the Parliamentary Registration Department.
And you're looking at live pictures of the Atlantis Hotel as they celebrate 20 years, and they want to make sure you know love is in the air. The Bahamas Tonight, the National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Everyday.
A family is seeking answers after their loved one was tragically killed. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charisma Robinson.
And I'm Chris Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us. A 65-year-old woman was killed after gunmen rampaged her home early Sunday morning. And tonight, family members are having a hard time coming to grips with her tragic death.
Yes, however, they say the woman, who was known as a mother to many in the Yellow Elder Gardens community, will always be remembered for her kind heart and giving spirit.
I don't think the pain is ever going to pass. We never expected to be burying our mom because of a senseless murder.
65-year-old Marinetta Leedon spent most of her time underneath this tree outside of her home in Yellow Elder Gardens. However, her favorite spot to catch up with those she loved will never be the same, as the life of the mother of 11 was cut short by gunmen who opened fire on her Cedar Street home early Sunday morning. One of Leedon's daughters spoke to ZNS News Today shortly after identifying her mother's body at the morgue.
As hard as it was still some sort of relief because I saw her in her natural state in a sense. I saw my mom, I saw her face, I saw her white hair, you know. It just was so surreal to see her laying there, you know, knowing that she was asleep, but she was asleep forever. You know, that was the hardest part.
Leedon, alarmed by the noise, was opening her bedroom door when authorities say she was struck to the face. One of her sons, who was seen walking around today, was struck to the arm and buttocks. When ZNS News visited the scene, bullet holes could be seen along the front walls of the home and along the front door, which the culprits, in an interesting turn of events, apparently decided to set on fire. Leedon's taxi van, parked at the front of the home, was also burnt and shot up.
This country's just been overridden by crime, and the young men in this country, they're so quick to act on the most trivial of things, or payback. You know, this revenge back and forth slaying, it don't make no sense. Because at the end of the day, an innocent woman died in there, the sweetest woman in the world. To know her was to love her. In her 66 years, she did no wrong to nobody. Nobody could tell you my ma ever called them no names, took from them, stole from them.
This tragedy is particularly chilling for Camera Mackey Christie, as she sees these types of cases in her profession as a social worker and legally appointed probation officer almost every day. She's satisfied, though, that police are doing all they can to bring the culprits responsible for her mother's death to justice.
When we initially advised, one person turned himself in, and they now have 3 persons in custody. And, you know, they gave us some information as to what they're doing as relates to the investigation. All I can say is that we hope that this is swift and that they would get the people who did this. Because my mom, our mom, she didn't deserve to die. We're supposed to be burying her at old age. We're supposed to have the opportunity to say goodbye.
But in the midst of the darkness, family members say there is a silver lining.
She's in a better place. She's no longer here hearing the gunfire into the hoods anymore. She's no longer here hearing the police in the ambulance roaming up and down. And I think the thing for us was, in the midst of all of that pain, when that rainbow lit from the end there where the police had the markings and covered this entire house. And that's as far as the rainbow went. And, you know, and that for us spoke.
In other news from court today, testimony continued in the murder and armed robbery trial of David Roll, Leonardo Wright, and Wade Roll. The 3 are accused of killing Nelson Goodman 6 years ago and robbing him of $200. He was gunned down outside of Bertha Go-Go Ribs in Coconut Grove. During the proceedings today, the court heard from a police detective who refuted suggestions from the defense that Wade Roll was beaten and forced to sign a confession statement and a record of interview. The trial continues before Justice Vera Watkins.
A Supreme Court judge handing down a ruling today in a case that challenged the constitutionality of new amendments to the Juris Act. Fern Carey tells us how the judge's decision will impact the trial of the defendant involved.
Justice Roy Jones did not waste any time in handing down his decision Monday. He indicated that the new amendments to the Juris Act, which took effect last year, do not apply to the murder case of Daniel Delroy Rolle. He also noted that Rolle is entitled to 10 preemptory challenges at trial. You may recall that the new amendments dramatically reduced the number of preemptory challenges to jurors being impaneled by more than 50% from 10 to 4, prompting Rolle's attorney Ramona Farquharson-Seymour to argue that the reduction in preemptory challenges made it more difficult for accused persons like Rolle to get a fair trial. Now, the court's ruling did not sit well with Crown prosecutors, who indicated that they will appeal. Rolle's trial has been adjourned to August 24th. A backup date has also been set for May 8th of 2017 in the event the trial does not proceed in August. Nevertheless, Rolle's attorney indicated that he will be applying for bail for the 23-year-old as he has been on remand for 3 years. Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
The National Tripartite Council Bill 2014 was passed late this afternoon in the House of Assembly, with both the opposition and government in agreement. But early this morning, in his contribution to the debate, Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell took the time to address the immigration issue that has drawn criticism on an international level.
Mitchell called on Bahamian stakeholders to take time to understand the new policy and exactly who it impacts. And as Janelle Noel Ferguson tells us tonight, he also said no crimes are being committed as authorities are only trying to keep an account of who's in this country.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell continues to defend the country's stand on immigration. He sought to clear up any misconception about the immigration policy that was enforced on November 1st last year. He also recently announced that school children must also be properly documented. Now, in the middle of criticism from various groups, the immigration minister says he can't allow misinformation to go unchecked.
I said nothing about a student visa, nor did I speak to the issue of excluding students from school. Entry into school is a matter for the Ministry of Education, and the minister has already spoken to that issue. Secondly, I have never said, or ever said, or suggested that children born to non-Bahamian parents in the Bahamas are stateless. If Mr. Smith is referring to children of Haitians born in the Bahamas, the government of Haiti has affirmed that the children of Haitians born anywhere are Haitian at birth, so they are not stateless. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, there is no such thing in law as a citizen in waiting. You are either a citizen or you're not a citizen.
But MP for Marcos City Greg Moss questioned Mitchell's reasoning as it relates to the immigration policy, noting that by his interpretation of the Constitution, persons born in the Bahamas of foreign nationals can be registered for citizenship at the age of 18 and not apply. He drew reference to recommendations in a report by the Constitution Commission on the proposed amendments to the Constitution.
The vast majority of persons affected by this provision are persons born in the Bahamas to Haitian parents. The Haitian Constitution provides for persons to acquire nationality through descent, but, and these are the operative words, only if either of their parents is native born and have never renounced their citizenship. But if their parents were not native born or have renounced, they would effectively be stateless. That I will defend with every ounce of my being the right of any other Bahamian citizen to all of their constitutional rights under our Constitution. I will also defend the rights of undocumented Bahamians who would be stateless by these actions under our Constitution.
This, however, prompted a response from Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie, who lamented that the Bahamas is ensuring that the proper measures are taken as it relates to citizenship.
As we are talking, the government of the Bahamas is providing people with status, Mr. Speaker. So don't believe there is a fixed position. Member of Parliament for Marcos City spoke out of concern, his interpretation of the Constitution. And Mr. Speaker, so on this point, I just wanted for clarification for the Bahamian people. Mr. Speaker, on a continuing basis, the people who are in the vulnerable area described by the member for Marcos City continue to have their applications acceded to either for permanent residence with the right to work or for citizenship. That is a continuing exercise by the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
The immigration issue took center stage on Monday during debate of the National Tripartite Council bill. Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
The Parliamentary Registration Department is taking a proactive approach to ensure no repeat of the voters' card theft that occurred in December. Over the weekend, a new partitioned counter was constructed to replace the old open access counter in the voter registration room. On December 18th, thieves reportedly reached across the counter and stole 5 blank voters' cards, along with a seal. Parliamentary Commissioner Sherlyn Hall says the new security measure will ensure public documents are safe. He says personnel from the Ministry of Works put the new partitions up.
The desks were open, so people could have reached over and stretched behind the desk. Now that is not possible. So the counters were put in to prevent anyone trying to reaching over to move any type of material, for that matter. We are on the ball and let the public know that you can feel safe to come and no material will be moved unwittingly by unscrupulous persons. So we try to take steps to minimize any such thing reoccurring.
Hall says the voters' cards will differ in the next election cycle and added that the stolen seal will also be replaced. Culprits have since been arrested in the matter. Hall added that the voter registration is ongoing, but there is an issue with the public bringing in the wrong documentation. The primary document to present is a passport or a birth certificate and a photo ID, along with documents on the applicant's mother.
We do not accept affidavit simply because the affidavit may not be conclusive evidence that the person is a Bahamian citizen. Further, the Parliamentary Commissioner does not have the authority to confer citizenship or nationality. So if one accepts an affidavit, you are indirectly conferring citizenship or nationality on the holder of that person with an affidavit. We do not have that authority.
Live pictures from the Atlantis Towers as they get ready to celebrate a week of love. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Lux Men's Warehouse.